I'm planning this webinar for around 20-25 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm constantly looking at the chat box and you can just write it there and I'll take it up either during or at the end of the session. Excellent. So I think we'll start this video. We're recording this video anyways, so we'll be sharing it with people who may not be able to join but have already registered. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Ravi. I'm the founder and CEO of SENTIO VR, and I would like to share with you a few really relevant topics that we see come across constantly, especially with architects and 3D designers asking us. So we've just compiled the key important points and would love to share and go one by one of these points. So let's start with the first thing, which is the topic of which hardware should I choose? And I think for people who already own an Oculus Go or one of these devices, you probably know better or know a lot of the information, but these are the four categories in which we see the hardwares being acquired by the AEC community. We see a lot of traction on the Oculus Go over the last year instead of the Gear VR. More than 80% of our users are already using the Oculus Go. And most of you might know, the Oculus Quest was launched on 21st of May. We are already working on getting that integration done, but it's a very, very important improvement over what the Oculus Go can already offer in terms of resolutions and an ability to load models of higher size and 60 degrees of freedom. So in this whole world of VR headsets, we are seeing a lot of focus or traction on the mobile VR headsets. Because they're beginning to give the kind of power and performance that the high-end VR headsets with PCs were doing. So yeah, I think the Oculus Go and Oculus Quest is where a lot of the focus on AEC is and is going to continue to happen. A lot less of use of Google Cardboard or Samsung Gear. It's still users who use that, but it's getting less and less. And very few users with the Windows Mixed Reality headsets so far, from what I see. And there is this PC-based headsets that are for very high-end models that are very difficult to load. So in the world of VR headsets, keep an eye on the Oculus Quest, and the Oculus Go, of course, I have here with me, which is probably the most used VR headset right now among our user base. Moving on to the next point is, starting from very scratch, like if I have a 3D model, how do I get into a VR presentation? So there are very clear use cases that are emerging now from what we're seeing. One is going the route of renders. So 360 renders, high quality, photorealistic, that are taken from existing softwares is something that we are seeing a lot of our architecture and design firms starting to get inside, adopt it in their workflow. But there is also this workflow of being able to directly enter your 3D models, especially in the early stages of the design process where you just want to understand how the speciality and things look. So yeah, today we are seeing these two ways of getting your design into VR, get into photorealistic 360 render, or directly go into your raw 3D model and have a walkthrough. So we'll just go into each one of them in more detail in the next slides. So typical normal 2D renders that are being taken by, let's say, Lumion or V-Ray, which is pretty much the industry practice of showing something to a client and helping them understand how the space looks, is in the world of VR has had a lot of queries around the formats of what renders work for VR and what not. So we have made it sort of, if you look at the different file formats, these are the four formats that you come across that typically are needed for virtual reality presentations. If you break it down, there's this typical Pano 360 format, 2:1 ratio, which is what a lot of people start with, but then very quickly you can see that it's not a lot required to get your 360 renders into the stereo format, which is the one that we have here below. So you can see the left and right images superposed, and that is something that is a very big difference in the experience that users can give to the clients, because it gives you sensation of depth. So just to like quickly summarize, 360 renders are uh, panoramic normal 2:1 or stereoscopic, where you can get a sense of depth, and you can have formats like the ones that are here, or you could have the cube map format that depends on the way you export your renders and which softwares you use. So we see a range of softwares that people want to understand how to export their 360 renders, and we have worked very hard in getting very clear articles regarding each of the formats and how to get it. So I really recommend you, we'll send you this PDF at the end where you can go through our detailed tutorials on how to, let's say, get a 360 render directly from SketchUp. But if you use V-Ray, how to get it using V-Ray for SketchUp, directly from Revit, or if you use, again, softwares like Lumion, Enscape, Corona, Cinema 4D. So this is pretty much the exhaustive list of softwares that you could be using for creating your renders, and the settings that you need to use for actually making a 360 render is pretty straightforward, and is not something that is a very big change in the workflow. So I recommend you to take a look at it if you're not doing this already, so that you can quickly get that export 360 part in your workflow. Now, once you have the 360 render created, there are certain things that need to be done so that you can get to a point where you can present it to your client. So again, going back to the process of using these renders, um, if you're users of SENTIO, you might already know that we allow you a direct upload of these renders on our platform in a drag and drop way. So you can upload the renders, create the order in which you want to present, and we have an editor that allows you to create all the interactions, the information that you want to share with your clients using one single editor. So what I mean by that is adding hotspots to move from one image to the other, adding floor plans, adding audio, and notes, and we're constantly making it like more and more custom based. So we're adding the features to make it like 2D images. Basically, this whole set of augmenting the information of the 360 render and making it ready. So once this is done, you can share the link immediately, which is something that a lot of our users do, to just share the link and let their clients visualize it on the mobile or PC. But that's the meetings that you do with your clients. It's fundamental to like understand how what are the best practices around presenting it in meetings. So if the Oculus Go, the Oculus Store, if you haven't done it already, you can download the SENTIO VR app, which is on the store. And once you have your 360 renders, you can and have created the tours, you will see the option to enter your app with a unique 6-digit code. Now, this is what allows you to access your account and your content. And we really recommend for client meetings using a feature that is very helpful, which is to be able to see what your clients are seeing. So the way you do it is, we call it the monitoring. It helps a lot in not asking your clients constantly, what are you looking at? And therefore, a way to do it is go to your projects. You can click on this monitoring URL. What this essentially does is, the moment somebody enters your project with a 6-digit code of your account, you can see that a virtual name here, and the moment you click on it, you can start seeing what the person is seeing in the Oculus Go. So for the 360 tours presentation, things to note down is create the render, upload it, make it interactive, and then note down your 6-digit code, enter the Oculus Go, and start monitoring what your clients are seeing, so that you have a very smooth presentation. You don't have to constantly ask. I'll move to the second aspect of this. There are some details around how you can embed these URLs. we have all that information on our home knowledge base. But regarding 360 tours, what we're seeing a lot is when the workflow really requires high-end photorealistic presentations, which is still very kind of difficult to achieve with 3D models directly. It is something that you can learn how to create like stereoscopic, give the interactive presentations, and make sure your clients get the links as well as have smooth client presentations. I'll move to the other workflow, which I was mentioning. So if you have a SketchUp model and a Revit plugin or a Revit model, and you're not really for time or for workflow in the process of creating renders, then especially in the early design phases, a lot of our users are just directly walking through or walking inside their 3D models and also using it in some of their client presentations. So I'll just quickly, right now we have been focusing on SketchUp and Revit. So for SketchUp, all you need to do is download our SketchUp plugin. And today we allow you to from the plugin, access your account, your SENTIO account. So you must have signed up previous to doing this. Once you have the SENTIO SketchUp plugin installed, all you need to do is choose which is your starting scene. So let's say if you have a few scenes created, you can just choose your starting scene from where you want the presentation to start and choose the project where you want to upload your starting scene and send the model to the SENTIO cloud. That is all that you have to do on the plugin. Normally, it takes a few minutes to optimize the model, but we make it pretty much ready instantly to view it. A few details there is we're working with, we're constantly seeing like the model size is being more and more higher than what it used to be when we started out. So let's say we started with like models at 50 mega MB, and it was difficult for some of our users to upload models at a higher number of polygons. Today, we have tested it around up to 1 million polygons. We've been able to make a lot of bigger models now start to work on SENTIO with a lot of original textures being exported as it is. So our goal here has been to make sure that the model looks as similar, if not as the same as it looks on SketchUp. I think we are doing a fairly okay job at that. And that is where we want to like start moving into more complex requirements, like making the visualization even better and photorealistic. So things to note here is SketchUp plugin sends your model to the cloud and makes it ready within 5 to 10 minutes so that you can enter your Oculus Go and again, use your 6-digit code, enter your account, click on the 3D walkthroughs, and that's how you enter the model. So this is a video, I think it's made right when we started the plugin, but I think if you look at the models that we are working with right now, things are looking much more similar to the original model, and that's what our goal is, make it as realistic as possible to the original SketchUp model. And there are some hacks around that on how to reduce the polygon count if the model is very big, or how to make some of your missing textures look visible because of the way SketchUp deals with top and bottom surfaces. So there are some details there which we have prepared content for. But today you can get your SketchUp to Oculus Go workflow very quickly done through SENTIO and get your client to understand the model as it is. And the next feature that we're working on, which should be fine in June, is not just to upload one scene, but to upload all your scenes and being able to move quickly within the model and not have to sort of just use the controller and walk inside. So that is the workflow we have on SketchUp and then very similar approach on the Revit side as well. So on Revit, what you can do today is you can enter your Revit model, again, download just give me 1 second. I think I clicked on there you go. So again, downloading our Revit plugin, we have just made it compatible with Revit 2020 in case you are using the updated version of Revit. Once you download it, again, you enter with your account, and on Revit, we have had lesser issues with textures because it's been a much more easier experience of being able to transport the Revit model as it is. And again, the polygon count doesn't change from SketchUp. So we're able to handle polygon counts up to 1 million right now, approximately. That should, and in case you have a model which is much bigger, there are ways you can work around it, especially for the Oculus Go. I think for the Oculus Quest, these problems might definitely not be as relevant. We are still testing them out. So we'll know by the end of June how big a model the Oculus Quest can handle. But on the Oculus Go, we're seeing less than 5% of the models that are being uploaded actually not being able to see on the Go. So the idea here is very simple. Again, upload your views or the starting view. And again, we are working on making all the views uploaded to the cloud so that when you enter the Oculus Go, you just have to switch using the controller, the different views, and not have to walk literally inside. The monitoring feature that I mentioned on the 360 tours is currently not available for the 3D walkthroughs. It's something that we have been requested quite a lot, and we're working on that. So basically what we are trying to do is, while your client is looking at your 3D walkthrough, you should be able to see on a 2D screen what they're seeing and being able to guide them better. So that is something that is part of the collaboration features that we're working on, and we're very happy to get your insights on how you want that feature to be built. On the 3D walkthrough aspect of SketchUp and Revit, right now our focus has been on mobile VR. So you should be able to download the Oculus Go and Samsung Gear VR apps and use it right now. On the Oculus Quest, since it has similarities with the Oculus Rift kind of ecosystem, we've had to make some changes in our development and get that product ready. I think by June, we should have some news from our side, but it's a very exciting product, because I think that a lot of the limitations that the Oculus Go had, which is not being able to move inside the model intuitively, or not being able to work with models of very high sizes, are not going to be the case with the Oculus Quest. So we are looking forward to that. But right now, Oculus Go still continues to be the primary architecture device that we are seeing from our users. In general, these are the quick topics that I wanted to bring up in this webinar that we are seeing from the AEC community. And today, I had some couple of questions pre-webinar that were around that I wanted to touch upon in this session. One of them was related to textures. Is it possible to have high quality, let's say Enscape level photorealism in VR, especially on mobile VR? We are right now also sort of understanding what are the capabilities of the Oculus Go. And today, I think that the options that we are seeing are get the model as it is on SketchUp and Revit in Oculus Go. Yes, you can do that with the textures and materials that are there, but the photorealistic experience is currently possible through the renders workflow, the 360 tool. So that is how we see it right now. I think it's going to change as the hardware and software improves. Regarding the other question was regarding the size of the models, like what are the sizes, what can be done. So I think that is something that we have been testing quite a lot. And as I said, I think the polygon count is the key aspect there, where 1 million polygons or a little more than that is something that the system can handle. But once you go beyond that, you have to take a call whether you want to see everything or you want to remove some sections of your model and upload a lesser complex model. So those are the two questions I wanted to take up directly in the webinar. And I'll be happy to take any questions. We have 10 more minutes. So I'm looking at the chat, and if you have any doubts, any questions, please do write on the chat, and I'll be happy to take it right now. So one of the questions that I have been getting is regarding the Oculus Quest. When is it going to be available? So yeah, I think the Oculus Quest, it's you can. I would like to know if there is anybody in the panel who's already bought it, has got it ready to test or view. It would be great to know if there's somebody who has that. Just you can write down in the chat. But I think we expect it to be ready in a period of 2 to 3 weeks. We are expecting some development, some testing around it, and we should be ready with the Oculus Quest in a week or two. Excellent. So from what I understand, I think the questions that have been answered previous and during the webinar, we have been happy to take them up and respond. We'll be doing this webinar more often so that we can keep bringing the latest updates that are happening from, not only in Sentio but in VR for AEC. There's a lot of interest in the last few months thanks to the Oculus Go and Quest. So we expect a lot of improvements on our own platform, on collaboration features to be ready in a quick period of time. So yeah, I think we would be very happy to count on you on being part of our communication and letting us know your feedback while we keep building the simplest way to do client presentations in the AEC industry. I really thank all of you for joining the webinar. We'll be sharing this PDF that I discussed along with all the content that I just showed. If you have any questions post the webinar, don't feel free to please share it with us and we'll be happy to take care of it. Thank you everyone for joining and have a very good day. Bye-bye.